In fact, I remember having the first conversation with my sister about this, and she warned me that one of the first, what you should be worried about is not about any of these things about whether how many people are going to get affected and all of it. Everyone's in lockdown, so they're all healthy and safe, but most of them are going to be a significant amount of them are going to be depressed. How are you going to handle that? When they're all alone at home and things like that.
Welcome, guys, to yet another podcast by Coffee Beans Consulting. We're glad you chose to listen to this podcast, and we hope you have great content once you finish this podcast. And we have quite a number of panelists with us, folks who have been part of this organization and would be more than happy to give you insights to what questions we have in store for them as well. So today's podcast topic is based on the pandemic that has been happening to us over the past couple of almost 2 years now. So we want to get CB or Coffee Beans perspective on how the founders, how the HR team, how people, employees from this organization have felt about it and what are their views about it as well. So let's move on to our first question. And our first question is to our founders, Mitesh and Sagar. So let's start with Mitesh first. So Mitesh, first question to you is, what do you think is one of the most challenging situations during this pandemic, right? How were you kind of came across that situation? How you kind of went across these challenges, especially because it was a new challenge for all of us. None of us knew about this before that, but it was just new. So what are your thoughts and views about it?
Sure. So as a startup, right, we always in one or another challenging situations. But pandemic was something which we never dreamt or even imagined, right? Something like a pandemic where everybody would sit at home and people can't go out, complete lockdown and all, anything like that would come up. So I remember I was in Jakarta at that point of time when we decided that we'll have a 1 week trial for people to work from home. And then it's been 1.5 years now, the trial is still continuing. So so yeah, my flights were being cancelled. I somehow reached back home and was quarantined and all, and that started there. And then the questions came up about the first question which came up. Oh, by the way, it's a very uncertain time now. What do we do with respect to the people who we have offered? Because the first thing we decided that there is a chance that the companies and the clients will start panicking, the projects will go away, the new projects which are supposed to start, they might not start. We had a couple of projects in the event space itself, and we knew that all the events which were organized have been stopped completely, right? So we had a hiring freeze for some time, and then the question was, what do we do with the people who we have already offered? So that was one of the challenges. I won't say the biggest one of the first challenges which we saw its pandemic brought us. But then there were other challenges with respect to, how do we sustain? Do we do layoffs? Do we do salary cuts and things like that, right? So I think for me, one of the biggest challenge which we had was a salary cuts decision which we had to take. Right, it was although for a couple of months, and we were able to revive back strongly out of it. But that was one of the hardest decisions, and I remember we had a decision between should we lay off some people who are on bench versus doing salary cut. We took this wiser call at that point of time, but I think that was a decision which was at that situation was the right decision to have taken, and we am very proud that we also came out strongly with it, and we were able to revive it back in a couple of months. So yeah, there were a lot of other things with respect to giving discounts to clients, making sure that sustainability is there with respect to our projects which are going on. But yeah, this would be one of the biggest and hardest call which we had to take.
Thank you so much, Mitesh, for sharing that. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that point of having layoffs, or do you go with salary cuts? And I feel always salary cuts is a better option than. But I'm glad you guys took that chance that time and the option that time. Sagar, over to you as well. Would you have any views on these that you feel could have was a challenging moment back almost 2 years back, and how do you feel about it now?
Yeah. I think when we started off, we did foresee a few unexpected situations, including uh, the death of multiple of us, and even extreme situations like that, where what happens if one person is no more, two of us are no more, and we have a contingencies for that. We don't even travel together except when we are just coming by car. But typically we don't take the same flight and all of it. All the way from there to a situation where we were like, what if there's a war? What if there's famine? And what all of those kind of things we had anticipated, but we never really planned for work from home because or a pandemic because it was never one of those things that it was one of the stuff for the movies. So when it did happen, a bunch of challenges came our way which we weren't prepared for. One of which was, how do you ensure that people who are all working from home are doing their bit? How do you ensure that they're motivated? How do you ensure that they're not depressed? In fact, I remember having the first conversation with my sister about this, and she warned me that one of the first, what you should be worried about is not about any of these things about whether how many people are going to get affected and all of it. Everyone's in lockdown, so they're all healthy and safe, but most of them are going to be, a significant amount of them are going to be depressed. How are you going to handle that? When they're all alone at home and things like that. So all of these things are things that we are not planned for, and challenges may range from initial unknown factor of the pipeline. How long is this pandemic going to last? Are we going to survive this or not as an organization? How many of us are going to die? There are all these kind of questions. Like, what if there's permanent disability on the back of this? Is our insurance currently equipped to handle? So all of these operational things started coming up, and we were definitely not prepared for it. And I remember us having almost catch-ups on a daily basis, right? The kind of conversations included things like, do we have to lay off? Like, because that was a real situation that we had to handle. How much of a runway do we need? If all projects shut down, how much money do we have to sustain the team for how long? From where else can we actually bring? Overnight, we actually created an overdraft facility which would extend the runway by another 2 months. So these kind of things started coming up. So the challenge was in first knowing what we didn't know, and then trying to figure out a way for that. I think given that we were all working completely remotely for the first time, that itself posed certain challenges. And of course, the moment things started going down south, everyone reduced their rates. So which means our revenues itself were low, and then we had to survive. And then the difficult decision of letting people go versus reducing rates or reducing salaries. I think to a certain extent we did that also just temporarily. Even whatever we did that, we reverted it back. So we're glad we did that. But I think if I had to pick between all of them, the decision to reduce salaries and try and retain that is probably the biggest or the most difficult decision I've had to take. And I think it's the same for the rest of the guys as well. The founding team would probably agree that this has been one of the most difficult decisions. Most people don't know how much time we spent before we actually took that call and how many options we explored before we got to this. So definitely that was one of the more challenging ones.
Thanks, Sagar. Yeah, I think.
Just one other thing. I think there was also employee anxiety, both with respect to fresh people who had just joined, like Mitesh mentioned, but also people who were there. No one really knew if they're going to be fired, they're going to be let go of, and everything else. So that handling of that anxiety came with its own challenges, because you can't just say something because everyone was seeing people around them being fired and all of it. So how do you handle that anxiety? How do you give that assurance that nothing's going to happen? Was a really difficult thing for us to do.
Very true. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I think even when we look at the industry per se, right, there've been a lot of companies that have been laying off people as well, and to take that decision is really something that I've really seen as a big factor in terms of having that goodwill with the employees as well. So kudos to you guys on that and picking up that areas as well and kind of go ahead with that as well. All right, moving on to my next question. Priyanka, you are the HR senior HR person at Coffee Beans. So this question will be directed to you. How has Coffee Beans made work from home or the entire remote working situation, right, more people friendly? I'm sure you will have a lot of conversations with employees as well in terms of what they do and different areas of how they can get better at working from home. But were there any policies, anything that you said that you feel you could share with us right now?
Yeah, so we've always been a flexible. We've always been quite, flexible in that sense of, work culture. We've never really been stringent. We've always given people that liberty to, do whatever they want, but also laying down the facts that they need to know what are their do's and don'ts. And after this whole work from home culture began, I think there were a few policies that we sort of brought in. One, for example, is flexible work hours. We've always had flexible work hours, and we continued that even at a work from home culture. And yeah, apart from that, we also had a home office setup, which it was a small allowance given to people, because like nobody was prepared to work from home, right? So right from anything to do with having a good work environment at home, uh, anything at all, right? Like even if it had to be like a table fan for that matter, we were okay with getting people, giving them that allowance to set up a good work from home system. And one of the other things we did was introduce internet bills to take care of, because that's like super important now, and that's what everybody needs at the moment. And yeah, apart from that, we also made sure that team participation, team engagement was there. And that's been a bit challenging, because while we were at work, we had a monthly ritual of people coming together from other client locations, coming here, and all of us spending time. But even while we started onboarding people and continued with the same team that we had, right, we wanted to make sure and ensure that there was that team culture. So every other month we would have movie nights. Team dinners is now a very common practice at an organization level and at their respective teams as well. And yeah, apart from that, we've had like events where we get people engaged for almost close to a month together, and the participation has been good, right from creating movies, composing their own songs, and like dancing, to like having our own dance competition and all of that. So yeah, that's been a part of how we've also made sure that we could like bring in that balance as well. A lot of things that we did from a team engagement side. These are just to name a few. Like apart from that, we also have a policy which helps with folks to connect on their interests. And this is again a very ad hoc thing that people can do at their own time and their own pace, which is called a common interest group. So that was like bringing people together outside of work, on WhatsApp channel. It can be anything related to that interest of a person, right? If they're interested in movies, food, politics, debate, that was all part of the whole common interest group, just getting people to engage at a whole other level and not expecting anything in return. So yeah. Oh, and also at a quarterly level, we've had physical activities, in the sense like mindfulness programs, because at one point I think everybody was going through that stress of what the hell is happening. So mindfulness program was really important, and which also reminds me, we also have a employee assistance program. If anybody requires counseling, it does not only extend to them, but it also extends to their family member. They can have counseling on whatever issue they are facing, right? It's not limited only to a certain issue. I mean, like, it's anything and everything. Even if it's a couple counseling with your partners, or family counseling, right? That's a policy we have brought in. We've had people cope with COVID, I mean, like loss of their loved ones. And, we felt that at this point, apart from all the benefits that we have, team engagement is what's important. And that is what will get people motivated because of the entire social distancing. The list goes on and on for team engagement, so I'm going to stop here. But yeah, I mean, like currently we're at our second fitness camp. We had the last fitness camp in the month of December. It was more of a walkathon, and we had a Christmas party, we had a talent show. So on a monthly basis, there's a lot happening, and the event management team really good. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Priya. I think that kind of suffices what Coffee Beans has been doing since the pandemic as it is. Saga, my follow-up question will be to you. Since HR team kind of comes under your bucket, right? So would you have any comments, anything to say on this? Like, since you have been looking at from a leadership point of view, from a management point of view, and every event that a HR team does would be incurring cost on it, right? So now with the pandemic hitting, it's all more that gets added to your bucket as well. So any thoughts from your side on this?
Yeah, I think we were very clear from the beginning that the people side of things would be something that we'll have to actually handle on multiple fronts. Just making sure that we are helping them out with the work part of it. We're helping them out with the healthcare aspect. we had to ensure that any kind of a COVID related treatment is continue to be covered under our existing policy. We try to increase our policy coverage as well. All of those things from a healthcare perspective, and then from a personal mental health perspective, because a lot of people were also unfortunately stuck by themselves. They were alone for extended periods of time, and it's not easy just to be okay with you know uh, talking to someone over over VC. So I think the physical interaction was pretty low. So I think we knew that we had to support it not just from a money perspective. The money part was it was an easy decision, right? We're like, yeah, of course, this is the most important thing, and we'll spend money on that. But how does this money get used, and where do we actually do it? How do we know if this is working or not? These are the kind of things, and for us, being a small organization, the decision making is much quicker, right? So some of these things were literally Priyanka or Aishi would come up and say, hey, we should probably do this. And we're like, okay, let's do it. The decisions were taken very, very quickly. We would not have a long process of, approvals and all of it. We kind of fast tracked a lot of it. I think to a certain extent that helped. We also did a few things which, I think Priyanka briefly touched upon it. We went, one step extra when it came to healthcare, right? We actually have in-house doctors that we had on roles who we could actually go to. These are not psychiatrists, but also the actual doctors who could potentially help us out if there's any questions about, am I I'm suffering with COVID and I have these issues, should I go to a doctor, should I not, what do I do, and all of those kind of things. This is also, we did another thing which not everyone knows, but we could probably just tell that we actually had a kind of a primary a holding facility of sorts that we created in our fourth floor office, which allowed us to take up to 4 people and actually provide them with beds, oxygen, and all the other first aid or equipment required if they are not able to find a hospital bed. Now, we were able to do it only in Bangalore because most of us were here, also where our office is, but that still gave us the ability to make sure that there was a lot of anxiety at some point in time, saying that, okay, now if I actually get sick, would I even be able to get a hospital now? And there were about 4 or 5 weeks where there was a lot of stress. And by during that time, we had this thing as a extra facility of sorts, and which we are still continuing to hold if, in case the third wave is going to be bad or anything else. So in that sense, I think overall people-friendly policies were aimed towards ensuring what we already have is accessible, or as policies are accessible and make sense in the work from home world. And second, if there's anything new that we had to come up with, for example, the mental health support system that we basically had created was something that we were already looking at, but it kind of got fast tracked because of the fact that we were all working. I think overall, one of the things that I've seen where we stand out, even compared to some of the other organizations of our size, is the number of activities that we did in that sense, right? We were constantly doing something, and outside of at a work environment, you're just in touch with your team. Being able to see the rest of the guys in the office, have a fun, just a half an hour, 1 hour fun activity was really, really useful. We did everything from a more complicated mafia to a very simple, Pictionary kind of a game and stuff like that. So I think the frequency and the total different kind of number of things that we did was, I mean, kudos to the HR and event management teams to actually put this whole thing together. But a lot of effort, time, and money went into it to ensure that there's both activities happening and participation happening on both sides.
Thanks for sharing, Salvo. Yeah, I think that kind of suffices how we kind of build with employees on their personal health and their mental health as well, especially in these uncertain times as well. So that's a great answer. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to move on to my next question, and that is again directed to Priyanka. So Priyanka, you would be in charge of implementing policies and implementing processes, right, over the past 1 year. So what was your experience on that? Now, you would certainly have an experience or a vibe of how employees are kind of, what is their pulse, right? So would you have any insights to that?
Yeah, actually, especially over the last, I would say it's beginning of Jan 2021 is when, I mean, yeah, we did implement a couple of policies last year, but we again redid a few of them this year, and we introduced other new policies this year. So one thing is coming up with the policies, and the other part is implementing it. And while we were coming up with the policies, now we have to, I mean, initially, our thought process was slightly different. We never really looked at policies from a pandemic perspective, but now we have to cater to that. So we had to come up with policies that are, timeless, in the sense that it's applicable at any point in time. Because moving forward, we will always be in that mode of flexible work hours, work from home, and working from office. So now we need to cater to all those three components. So in that sense, it was very interesting to think of what to implement, how to go about with it, and how effective is it going to be. And um, from an implementation perspective, um, there were a bit of challenges, mainly because of like communicating to the team what it means. Like at any point, it's very easy to have this discussion face to face, but with a medium of a laptop screen in front of us, that sort of like becomes a task for everyone to also sort of be a part of the call and understanding how the processes work as well. So yeah, I think that was one of the the challenge. And the other another interesting perspective that like now we sort of miss is like while we implemented these processes and while we were at office like in full strength, um, feedback on those processes were a lot more easier, much more casual and instant, right? But now it's like it takes time, because now we're not too sure of how people have grasped it, how well have they grasped it, have they even understood the policy. mm, we'll only hear of it only if there's a query that is raised. Then it gets into an entire formal feedback session, which is I mean, like, and from a checking a policy and how effective it is, I think it's always good for it to be more informal and anonymous. I mean, I wouldn't give too much preference on the anonymity, but an informal feedback will always help. I think that's where there's been a bit of challenge in terms of how the policies are implemented. But however, like, it's fine. I mean, worst case, you just set up a calendar invite and get feedback. So that's what it is at the moment. Mm. But yeah, I mean, having said that, we ensure that this time the feedback process was good, and we had checkpoints, and we had a larger team be a part of it to ensure that the information flow is uniform throughout the organization. Same case with the setting of the OKRs and KRAs of the org. And yeah, and that's where I think the mentors also play a very important role on them communicating the same message to everyone. So that is one way of making sure that these policies are communicated correctly, and and that everybody's on the same page. Yeah.
Got it. So, Priya, would you say that the response from these employees or something that was a fraction to the response to them, kind of when you implement a new policy or a process, right? Was a fraction good, or was it something that they were not against, like they were against it because they were not okay with it because in terms of the entire pandemic situation, they're all working from home and things like that? Did you see any fraction of the employees in terms of the policies that you implemented?
Uh, No, not necessarily, because I mean there will be point of concerns. Not everybody will be on the same page when a policy is implemented, and that's a given. But however, it's handled on a case-to-case basis, and like again, work from home, and we just reopened office, and again we've kept it optional, only knowing that in some cases people may not be able to come back immediately, and we've given them a buffer as well. We've also got prerequisites for people to come back to working in office, which is a minimum of one dosage of vaccination and all that. So yeah, and another thing is to make sure that at least the senior folks have understood the policies correct, because again, like I said earlier, there will be doubts, there will be questions, not necessarily that everyone will be on the same page, but when we are creating policies, we make sure that we have catered to every possible aspect, and also kept the team's preference, or kept the team ahead of all the other calls that we have to take behind implementing a policy.
Thank you so much for sharing that here. Well, so we all know that the certain companies in the industry have kind of put up the entire permanent work from home culture, trying to move their entire office to kind of their employees working from home. So my next question is to Mitesh. What is your view or what is your take on the new culture that is set in right now due to the pandemic? And do you see this as a permanent something, a permanent a policy or a structure that we'll be following in the upcoming years, or you see industries following this as well?
So definitely, man, culturally, a lot of things have changed in last 1 year, right? I mean, we never imagined that we will be able to work for so long and remotely and provide, that kind of product delivery, and quality of the delivery was something which was in question that we'll be able to provide when everybody's working remotely and all. And also accountability, will people be accountable for their work and they will be performing at the same level when they are in office and all. So this all these kind of questions were there, and the most interesting part is we have delivered, I think, more than 2 or 3 projects which started during the pandemic, and it has been successfully delivered by the entire remote team. So now we have proven that we can deliver products and software products in a remote fashion. So this culture definitely has merit and value to it, right? Having said that, from my point of view, wherein most of my work is making sure that everything is on track and everything is moving, and there are no red flags per se. I used to get these signals mostly in the office when I used to look at people. I will randomly, get in touch with one of the tech leads of a product and I ask what's happening there. And most of my conversations were, and the project updates were that way. Now I am missing on to all these things. All these things become a meeting invite or a to-do list, right? And then I have to have a proper framework on maintaining the to-do list and the meeting invite, which is a very formal way of doing it, which kind of makes that informal connection with the people and the team. And I think the people also having that kind of connection, which is a casual one, more personal one. As a startup, it is very important for us to have this personal kind of relationship and all, right? So that part is taking a hit from my perspective, right? So that's one. Second, even with respect to people, they might be missing that connect with the organization, might be not as much as what it was before, right? Having lunch table conversations, having coffee table water cooler conversations and all. That's one. Second is what I have seen is the speed of decisions is taken a toss. Many of the times I would remember or think about something and I would just walk up to someone and ask him the question. Now I have to check his calendar if he's available now or not, right? Or I have to drop him a Slack message. Now I have to rely on him to check the Slack message and he'll respond to it. People are not taking, like, including me, right? I don't entertain phone calls. Like, you can't call me randomly on phone calls because I'm most of the time on meetings. So people are cognizant of the fact and they're not calling also. Earlier we used to just abruptly call someone on phone. So all these culture things have been, have been on the negative side of things per se, with respect to the speed of decisions we have taken, the connect. We are also hearing that there are fatigue stories that people are not able to distinguish between office and work, right? Work and personal life. If you're working from home, you're working all the time. There have been cases where people are talking about the fatigue. There have been cases where we don't have visibility of somebody is actually working or not on the project, and there have been delays and all. So all these aspects are there, which actually promote the original culture of working from office. But then we are also seeing that how effectively we have delivered certain projects and remotely it has worked for us. So I think the way I'm looking forward is, of course, it has set a permanent change in the way we do things. A more of an hybrid culture of sort, which would set in, wherein maybe during the inception or between the projects, we would call teams over. We will have an interaction between them. The chemistry between the team and the bonding between the team has to improve. That part we'll do, and maybe and at times they will work from home and continue working remotely as well. So I think that's kind of hybrid culture is what I think would come up. But yeah, only time will tell, and people will tell.
True, true, very true. Yes, thanks for sharing that. My follow-up question to, I think, Sagar would like to answer this, would be, let's say, for example, there's been that forum that started off that saying employees are going out saying that, hey, listen, our productivity is still the same, but we're still working from home and there's no change in that. So would you feel that that makes a change to a company's perspective? Or do you feel that, no, it's fine, that we still need to have that connect with these employees in person?
Yeah. So I think this is one of the most divisive topics of the last 1 year. I think there have been multiple thought processes and opinions on this, and I'll tell you mine based on not just what I feel right now, but also based on my conversation with both people from within our organization and other people, as well as some of the other co-founder friends that I have. I think the one jarring thing that we saw, I mean, it was just really weird, right? One of the most evident thing was almost everyone felt overworked, right? Specifically in the initial stages, almost it was very difficult to draw a line between when are we starting, when are we ending. So almost everyone felt a little overworked. I think that was coming from the perspective of saying that okay, look, I'm saving some time on travel and all of it, so I'm kind of obliged to work a little bit more. On the other hand, the organizations were feeling that it wasn't necessarily optimal. There's a 30-40% dip in this thing. So on one side, everyone's working longer hours, harder, and everything else, and then overall productivity seems to be low. To be very honest, it's very difficult to measure either of them, right? I mean, you got to take, people's, I guess, word for the fact that they are actually working long hours. And then you take employees, I mean, companies' words that there's, productivity loss. How do you measure productivity in a knowledge environment like ours? Because it's kind of not a repetitive task that you can measure against what was happening before. Every time what you're doing is something new, so you don't have a benchmark against which you can measure. So how do you measure productivity? Delivering a project, yes, that's an actual ultimate measure of whether it's working or not. But could we have done it faster? Could we have done it better? Is a question that is a little difficult to answer. Now, as we proceeded, I think it became a little bit more clear as to why such things were happening. People started demarking times where we're saying that okay, lunchtime I prefer not having call. I remember for the longest time I just used to eat and take a call, and I would not talk to anyone at home as well. And it was just although you're at home, you're like actually working longer hours because I used to have much more breaks when I was in the office. So I think people started demarking a little bit, and I think all of this led to also a lot of meetings. Every single thing was a meeting. Like I think in a day I was either on phone or on chat talking to people. Roles like mine, invitations are mostly that, but even people who are actually working on projects complained of having, you know, 3 to 4 hours of meetings every day, which means the time left to work is actually very less. So I think once we started figuring out the issues, the solutions started, following up, following the issues, and then we started figuring out a way to, kind of get to a point where there is some kind of a balance in what's happening. Um, how's the culture been? I think it's a mixture in my sense. From my perspective, I think people have become definitely more clearer with communication. I think people understand the fact that when you're not seeing each other, it's very important to be more articulate when you're talking about stuff. Um, Following through on stuff that we have said, it becomes that much more important. So there's no one just reminding you across the table that something is supposed to be done and things like that. And I think overall, with respect to managing your time, people have gotten better because you're responsible for your own time, and you're supposed to manage your personal lives as well along with your family. And the fact that some of them have kids and had to manage that as well, was probably a learning experience for everything. Another thing that I think we've debated mostly across the world, I think, is is this going to be permanent change or not, right? I think most people believe that it's going to be a hybrid. The question is hybrid on which side? Which side is going to be heavier? Is it going to be heavier on the work from home side, or is it going to be heavier on the office side, right? My personal opinion, and I'm fairly strong on that opinion, is that we'll get back to normalcy in sense post pre-COVID era for normalcy, which is mostly people working from offices and everything else. But there is a certain amount of mindset change that work from home has brought in, which means that it's not just going to go away that easily. Also, I think the actual concept of work from home itself is definitely going to stay back. It could be a few days in a week to, doing this in a specific scenario and everything else. So I think that aspect of work from home is definitely going to be continuing in our lives. How it's going to affect, the dynamics of a team which is used to seeing each other when somebody is working from home is yet to be seen, right? It really depends on how the implementation of these work from home policies happen, how people adopt to it, all of these things. As things start getting back to normal, I think we'll see this evolving into something that possibly some of us predict, but I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen. So fingers crossed, but I think overall will be a better future for sure. I think having that kind of flexibility of workplace environment is definitely overdue in today's world, specifically in our industry.
Yep. I think
Thanks a lot.
a couple of things living in Bangalore which were highly welcome was that despite from no traffic for a year was a good thing too. It was a welcome change. Another thing which I have started seeing now is that all the meetings happen on time, start on time, and mostly end on time as well. It's because there are other meetings to catch up to. So yeah, these are some welcome changes I think which would stay longer, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Thanks for sharing that, guys. Very good insights to the culture that is upcoming in the future, hopefully. All right. So my next question is to Pooja. So Pooja, you've been part of Coffee Beans for quite some time now. You've been an intern and then you've been converted to full time, and now you've been part of us. You kind of witnessed both cultures, working from office and also working from home as well. What is your take on the entire new culture that we have?
So I joined CB after the pandemic era. So I've not worked pre the pandemic, but post the pandemic culture has been. So for me, like in general, the CB culture has been amazing. So it has a very like flat hierarchy, a very open door policy, I would say, and. So yeah, I mean, you can really voice your opinion. You know, your opinion is heard, and I think that's very important in any company to be able to, do better at your job if the culture that is set allows you to, communicate freely. So that is one thing that I feel Coffee Bean has really been good at, and. So in the pandemic, like Priyanka also mentioned and Sagar also mentioned, they've had a lot of employee-friendly activities and policies that they've set up. And for me, someone who's joined post the pandemic, I did not know anyone, I had not worked with anyone. So it was all the more difficult to kind of, transition smoothly and get along, like, get into the flow of working with everyone. So these activities have really helped because you work with someone in a team and then you only know the people in that team. But when you have activities where you're doing something together, be it a small activity or a small task like dance or I don't know, music, it just kind of helps you to open up to other people in the company, kind of helps you to engage with others as well. And I feel Coffee Bean has always like taken a lot of efforts for the employees' physical and mental wellness. So from organizing vaccination drives to, they've already mentioned, I think, with having, mentors in place and having these emergency contact numbers. So a lot of policies were devised in such a way that they made the whole work from home very, very comfortable and very, very smooth. So that I feel was is really good. And I feel like I said earlier, like it has a flat hierarchy. Everyone, I joined as an intern, as you just said, and it's very important for an intern to feel that okay, I'm being treated as anyone else in the office would be treated. And just as a starting point, that was the first thing that really, like, I really like that about the people at Coffee Beans. And after working for a year, I can say very safely that this is how it is. This is the culture where, everyone is equal. And so I never have to worry before putting a point across because I know I'm going to be heard. And that is a very good thing. And yeah, that's my take on the culture.
Thank you so much for sharing, Pooja. Glad to know your insights on how, from an employee's perspective, of how the culture at CB kind of fit into your bucket as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to go ahead to ask Priyanka's next question. Now, I know you did say a couple of policies that were code friendly, right? Once for the employees at CB. Anything you like to emphasize on specific, like any policies that you came across that were COVID related that were helpful to support the team as well?
Yeah. Yeah, there were quite a few things we did from a COVID support point of view. One was, to have COVID leaves. We implemented that this year. And yeah, so that wasn't only to, like, for example, if I had COVID, I could apply for leaves. If I did not have COVID, but I had to take care of somebody, like one of my dependents, my parents or my siblings, right? I can, take those days off and just focus completely on them and apply that under COVID leave. So it wasn't just for, somebody who had, COVID, but it was also, to sort of give them that assurance that, okay, because there were quite a few people whose family members, started falling ill. They may have not, necessarily been diagnosed with COVID, but that puts a lot of stress on a person at that point. So, and at that point, all you'd want to do is just leave everything and make sure that they are attended to. So we made sure that, we could support that and be there for them. So yeah, that was one. Another very important thing, again, we've already discussed this. While counseling helps with other personal issues, it also helped with, grieving the loss of, your friends or your family. Quite a few of us did lose, our near and dear ones, and, counseling sort of helps with that. And that was also part of the whole COVID support, from a, mental being healthy mentally. And yes, we did conduct vaccination drives, and for folks in Bangalore, it was easier to conduct vaccination drives. However, for people outside of Bangalore, right, they could go get themselves and their dependents vaccinated and get that reimbursed for, both the dosages. So yeah, that was also, part of one of the policies. Another thing we did was, especially during the second wave, we had in-house doctors. We still have in-house doctors. We thought it was a good thing to do because, there were quite a few people who actually used that facility. We had like a proper system in place in terms of coordinating with the doctors and, getting their appointments, booked with these doctors to help with COVID diagnosis and all of that. Another thing we had, and I think Sagar briefly touched upon it earlier, was we actually, out of the fourth floor, basically we converted that into a holding place of sorts. Again, the main reason why we did this was, and most hospitals at that point, they were booked like up till the brim, right? So there was no possibility of people, getting beds at the hospital. So which is one of the reasons why we invested in the oxygen concentrators, and we made sure that we had one that stayed put on the fourth floor for whenever somebody required it. They could come and check in till they get their hospital sorted. They can be here and get that support of oxygen. So that's one thing to get rid of. And that actually, so for some people, the anxiety of getting a hospital bed sort of I think made things worse for them, right? So this was one way of, and they sort of, also had that assurance that, okay, worst case, if we don't get anything, we have oxygen concentrators. And yeah, so these were a couple of things that we did to, make sure that we could do everything to, support anything related to COVID. Sagar, have I missed out on any points? Is there anything that you would like to add to this?
No, I think you covered everything.
Yep, this is it. And I think also, again, with the in-house doctors, right, it's basically building that sense of safety and assurance that, while there are no hospitals or doctors available out there at a time that you would like them to, we sort of gave them at least that sense of assurance that, we have a set of dedicated doctors who will be there.
Yeah. The amount of good feedback that we've got on the back of this, I mean, not just feedback, right? It goes beyond feedback. It's been almost gratitude expressed in a feedback format. Just people knowing that okay, we have their back, we got their back on their, in this kind of a situation it goes a long way, and we were glad that it was perceived in the right sense. It was actually used. A lot of people who really suffered in that phase had pretty much doctors on call who were willing to spend as much time as required with them, follow-up conversations. And it wasn't just one-time consultations. Some of them have had 6-7 follow-up conversations on the back of that. So it's gone really well, that one.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think sometimes companies don't go beyond the call of duty, right? And that's something that I find really insightful and really helpful for employees as well. Like Coffee Beans is able to do something like this. So really grateful. I'm sure employees at CB will be grateful for this. All right. Moving on to our next question. So our next question is going to be to Pooja again. Pooja, you, like you said, right, you have done your internship at CB. So what kept you motivated during your internship period at Coffee Beans?
Yeah, so my internship was 3 months long. So my internship, so to give you a short answer, I think it was all the learnings and the opportunities that I got during my internship which kept me like super motivated. And to elaborate a little on it, my internship had like 2 parts. So one was the training bit, which was taken by Sagar, who's also the co-founder and has like 12 years of analyst experience. So it was like learning from the best. And then there was followed by that was another set of training to teach us about the tools and other technology only, and that was taken by the agile coach, so like basic frameworks and processes. So that was the whole training period. And after this we were shadowing the senior BAs on actual live projects. So this was the whole training experience. And so the initial training, which was done by Sagar, was very meticulously planned. Every session had an objective. Every session had a theoretical aspect as well as a practical aspect, which made the learning, which made it made the entire experience really good. Also, we were only 6 of us, so it was a small group of people. So we would have a session, we would have an exercise where we would break out in 2 rooms, and then we would come back and discuss the same. So there was a lot of free flow of ideas and energy on the table, and that was extremely useful. Now having finishing the internship and actually working on projects, leading projects, I realize how much of a value that has added to my overall while currently I'm on the project, I'm realizing how much it's helping me. So that was the first bit. And then Mirza, who's an agile coach, he helped us with the tools and different frameworks, like teaching us about Scrum and other processes, and that kind of completed the whole training. You're learning about concepts theoretically plus practically, then you're also being enabled to actually use the tool and do the work. So do the job. So that kind of got us ready for the real actual project experience, which is something we also got as soon as we were done with the training. They put us in projects. So and just being able to shadow someone who's senior, you're like on actual life projects, you're seeing actual problem, actual solutions, and you're working on it, which also creates that complete learning of an internship. And maybe I was so I didn't immediately get a project, and I think I was lucky there because again Sagar and Mitesh, they were they would take my help in some of the client pitches. So I feel the first part was learning, the second part is opportunities. So coming to the opportunities, it wasn't like, okay, she's just an intern, let her just sit or let her just do some basic work. They actually took the time to include me in the client pitches. In fact, I very clearly remember Sagar in the second meeting itself, when I had made the presentation and made the deck, he asked me that, do you want to go ahead and present it? So he gave me that opportunity, which is also something like you feel that you're an intern and you've been given such an opportunity. So that really motivates you, because you know that if currently your learning is this much, when you're when you know are a permanent employee, you know that there is just so much to learn here. So yeah, these were the major factors.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing, Pooja. Yeah, I think like you mentioned, there's always that hands-on experience that you gain at internships, and the CB was able to provide that platform for you to kind of excel in what you were learning in school or college, and then use that in your work here, and that's kind of put you forth thus far in Coffee Beans as well. So thanks so much for sharing. All right, next question is to Mitesh. So Mitesh, as you know, right now there's the entire the pandemic has hit different domains of industries, right? For example, the hospitality industry has been hit vastly, considering that people are not traveling around and stuff like that. So how do you feel that the pandemic affected the demand in the tech stack, right? Now we know tech as an aspect, but it still has a lot of value into this day. So did you see any changes in the technical requirement that was put forth in terms of how the industry works, how Coffee Beans works, for example?
So yeah, man. Of course, there are a lot of changes, and it actually came in two parts. There was first part of a pandemic where things were uncertain and people were slightly panicking. They were not sure about what's going to happen next. Is this the actual new normal, or this is just a short phase, or things like that, right? At that point of time, there was a lot of consolidation of sorts which was happening, wherein people were hanging on to the new ideas or decisions which they wanted to implement and all, right? So there was a phase where the technical requirements became slightly stagnant, or the technical project implementation became stagnant, right? But with that came new set of challenges and opportunities with respect to, let's say, data security. Now everybody's working from home. How do we ensure that the data, because earlier it was in the office space and all, and many of the projects which are having sensitive, when we deal with banks and other clients, we deal with sensitive information of clients, right? So how do we ensure that the data security frameworks are placed rightly, and those aspects? So those technical aspects took a jump, right? And we also had to come up with some innovative ways of having interaction between the teams, and those products and those technical requirements again took a jump. Next set, so this was the first phase where we were mostly focusing on when the things were unsure. Second phase, when people started realizing, okay, this is the new way of working, is when the actual game changer happened, right? And suddenly there was a spike in the technical requirements and how we are doing business right now. A lot of companies thought that this is the new way of working, and they started focusing onto the cloud-based ecosystem. So even if they have on-premise systems earlier, they were focusing on creating a product line which is on cloud and where they can support multiple users, and which is geography agnostic. So they wanted to support people across the world now, right? Digital transformation is something which started taking a positive hit, because again, companies wanted to go digital in their implementation strategies and all. As I mentioned earlier, we were having clients in the event space. Earlier, when they were not sure about what to do in the first half, and they were doing consolidation with respect to stopping new ideas and all. In second half of the pandemic, they started creating frameworks and products for virtual events. Now they're actually seeing more scope, because earlier when there were events for physical, there were geographical constraint of which people can attend those events. Now they're making virtual events and the whole world can attend it at the same time, right? So they are finding new avenues of monetizing and all. We are seeing a lot of clients finding new avenues of monetizing. We are recently talking to one of the clients which is into logistics space. Now they are saying that because of pandemic, when not a lot of people are traveling through aircrafts are being used as courier or cargo suppliers. So they are coming up with the product line on those sides, right? So a lot of innovative solutions are coming up. Technology wise, a lot of technologies have come up which is making the communication between the peers and group seamless. A lot of digital transformation, cloud-based DevOps is taking a positive impact, because people are working remotely and the deployment has to be faster and all. So yeah, so we are seeing a lot of cloud-based ecosystem and the DevOps ecosystem improving a lot, while web platform creation for connecting to the customers has improved. So the technologies like React and others have taken a positive turn. Microservices architecture was already picking up, and that has also seen a good because considering the existing systems which clients had, coming up with a new product line which is more modular. So microservices ecosystem has also taken a positive impact that way. right? So yeah, these are some of the new technology challenges and interesting things which are happening, and it has actually brought a really exciting time. It's a really, really good time to be a technical person right now. So much to learn, so much exciting things happening right now. So yeah, pretty exciting, pretty excited about how it's going to come pan up in the future also. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks for sharing, Mitesh. I think that's like a confidence booster for people who are in the industry who are looking to learn different technical aspects as well. So,
Sure.
thank you so much for sharing that. Hopefully, that will impact the people who are watching this and
Yeah.
they'll be interested to learn new technical sides, new technical softwares and different developments as well. So, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to our last question, and I'm going to ask Sagar that question. So, the last question, and this is something like a very futuristic answer that you can also give. So, what does our roadmap look for next year, right? Next upcoming year, what does our roadmap look like? Where do you see ourselves going? How is the path that you're taking? Any views on that?
Yeah, sure. So when 2020 happened, there was already a very interesting roadmap for us, right? Because 2020 was a year of future vision. It was always the whole 2020 vision aspect of it, and then we had a bunch of plans with respect to expansion as well as what it means for us in terms of what it means in terms of different things that we had planned internally. All of that took a backseat in about March, where suddenly shit hit the ceiling. So one of the first things that we did as we started flying back in 2021 is trying to put all of those plans back into play. Big part of it for us at Coffee Beans was that of ensuring that we get back to the same kind of demand situation where we were before the pandemic. That was the easy bit because everyone was clawing to get back into the business, and everybody wanted to pick up the projects that they had stopped and everything. So that was easy to think. So part of the plan was to make sure that we have a very healthy project and product pipeline happen. The second aspect of it was to try and figure out how do we adjust to the new normal, which is how do we ensure that there is flexibility in terms of working locations and everything else, and also yet go back to a state where we are also seeing each other and everything. And so how do we bring forward that synergy? I think in that sense, definitely one of our goals would be to try and get back to some level of normalcy, even in terms of working from office and all of it. Another very important aspect, at least from a Coffee Beans perspective, was our whole focus on labs and internal products. We always, and in 2019 onwards, we had planned to start off this whole lab setup, which basically would create a test bed of for products, which would also funnel validated and almost tested apps into a mainstream product flow, and then we take that particular tested and validated app and then actually create a product out of it. So in that sense, the idea was to also just try and go beyond just tech products, potentially inclusion of IoT products, possibly any hardware play, anything which has a hardware play, all of that. So lab setup is something that has happened, and then we're going to focus more and more on putting a few ideas through that machine and see what comes out. We've already done it. One idea has already taken shape. It's building on top of one of the existing products that we have, and really excited about it. So in terms of 2021, this product and labs thing is very interesting. The other thing is again our growth plans. Where we are right now, we are small enough to be kind of really dynamic, but big enough to make a difference. But that size can actually, if we hit our targets by the end of March, that puts us in a very, very comfortable position, and it puts us in the slightly, big players league, and that allows us access to projects which we probably didn't have access to, and everything else. And another last component in the roadmap for 2021 is definitely 2 or 3 new locations. We are in advanced stages of considering, these locations both internally as well as when I say internally, I mean within India as well as outside, internationally. We're hoping that at least one local location and one international location will definitely happen in 2020. We're definitely aiming for more. With this, we are expecting a lot more access to international projects, as well as ability for people to actually travel and work in different locations, which is a big component of working in a consulting firm. So that's definitely something that we intend to achieve and we're looking good to achieve in the coming years, in the next 1 year.
Got it. Thanks so much for sharing, Sagar. It's nice to see to understand the roadmap from your perspective as well, and to kind of have that communicated to everyone in the team
Absolutely.
as well.
I think we're in the most exciting year of Coffee Beans right now. We're at a point where we're really well placed. Demand's looking good. We're well placed with respect to our teams. Growth looks possible. This next 1 to 2 years is going to be super exciting.
Great to hear, Sagar. Thank you so much for sharing on those aspects as well. Nitish, do you have any points to add to these as well? Like, since you've also been part of the technical side as well, and also a lot more into recruitment areas like this. So, would you have any points to share?
Yes, man. So as Sagar mentioned, right, I am also pretty bullish about how the next 1 year and year and a half are going to pan out. As Coffee Beans, we always had a vision of we want to stay on top of cutting edge technologies, right? And we had to, slow down a little bit last year for, of course, obvious reasons. But right now we are at a very comfortable stage to have, those kind of, and labs is one of the ways we are doing it, right? Innovations is one of the highest, is a key area. And I always said this, that we just don't want to be someone who claims to be innovative. We have a proper lab setup where we are doing innovative stuff, right? So I'm pretty bullish that way, that the next year is going to give us good opportunities with respect to trying out new and new technologies, going into IoT space, blockchain space, and other areas. The good part is we as a company have got the right vigor, right talent, right hunger, and right financial backing also with respect to what we have done in last 4 years and how we have maintained and managed ourselves, right? So yeah, again, very, very exciting times for us. I personally, being on the technical side, I'm seeing how technologically things are changing. With the other day, we were talking to one of the drone delivery companies of how do we ensure that bike the drone taxis come and start working on those kind of projects, right? So I think in next year we are planning to take up those kind of opportunities as well, and trying to explore those areas. Yeah. So want to make an impact on how things are happening, not just technically, but also with respect to society and humanity. And right now we are placed at the right platform with the way the entire culture of the world has changed, right? So yeah, let's see how it goes, man. We're very excited.
Thanks for sharing, Nitish. Yeah, I think it's exciting to see where Coffee Beans is going to move from where we were to how we are right now. So the roadmap thus far has been great, and I'm sure the roadmap going ahead is going to be all the more exciting as well, with different areas that we would be dipping our heads into and kind of working on. So that way, really excited. Thank you so much for sharing that, and also thank you all of you for also joining in and kind of giving your views and your perspective about it. I'm sure the pandemic has been a great hit to all of us, and so far we have coped with it really well. And I'm sure we are doing our best to kind of get forth as well. And to the guys who are watching it, thank you so much for watching it and staying tuned so far. Coffee Beans has been a place where we have kind of grown individually and also as a team and also as an organization level as well. We've come way ahead to where we were, from where did we start. And we've touched upon different areas in terms of HR, in terms of tech aspect, in terms of how people are motivated to work here, and different other areas as well. So I'm sure if you ever have any doubts and anything, you can always reach out to us. And I hope this podcast has been of great help to you. And as the days go by, there will be more podcasts coming up your way as well. Make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to our channel, and also make sure that you also like and follow the LinkedIn channel, at LinkedIn page that we have. There are a lot of openings coming up, and we'll be more happy to have you on board as well. So look forward to seeing you here with us as well. Thank you so much, and have a great day.